certainly you look at the finishing position, there's a couple correlations. It was the cars that pitted for tires. I don't know how many there were, probably 4 or 5 cars. 4 or 5, right?
Yep. Eric Jones, Bubba Wallace, Tyler Reddick, Josh Berry, and the race winner, Kyle Larson.
So the top 3 were the ones that pitted for tires. They drove to the front because they had new tires on lap 16, and they never looked back. It was that difficult to pass because of the tires, and it was difficult to pass because that track, unfortunately is a one-lane track, one lane at all. I mean, I heard Chase Briscoe talk about it, and the second lane was so non-existent. You couldn't even try to battle someone on the outside. That's why I think it needs to get repaved, because it's just anytime you have our cars don't race as well on single file tracks. That's just a fact. They don't, and especially if it's a short track. So I encourage the staff, Marcus Smith, to repave it, but get the driver's feedback on the repaving. I think that they can do some things with the asphalt. He even said that if we do repave it, it's going to instantly have character. Listen, don't make it character like Atlanta, where all you did is just dig up pavement and then lay down, repave it with the same old bumps. The bumps isn't what fixes it. You've got to fix the actual asphalt. Maybe have an opportunity to do some variable banking with it. I understand there's a little cost associated with it, but if you have really good racing, I mean, it pays for itself. People come back. The storylines afterwards, it's all just positive stuff. So SMI, please reach out to the drivers on this one and let us help with, coming up with a surface and a track type and a track banking that will help you have the best racing possible after a repave. I don't think, in my opinion, the option of not repaving and doing nothing is the right one, because it's just going to make us race the racetrack too much. And again, we can't even remotely battle side by side with anyone. You have to just, if they get position on you, you got to let them go, and you got to try to find a hole. So you're not going to have any wrecks when no one races side by side.
So Kyle dominates wins the truck race on Saturday, and then despite starting at the rear after having a penalty on pit road after he pitted for those fresh tires, he was the only driver that was able to drive through the field as quickly as he did, right? Tyler Reddick and Bubba Wallace ended up finishing behind him, but Kyle was to the lead 20 laps before Bubba got to second.
Well, there was no question, right, that Kyle had the best car or he was the best driver, one of the two. Chase Elliott said that. They're like, how does that happen? He said, well, it's either the driver or the car, one of the two, right? So I think that Kyle is a very actually underrated talent on worn-out racetracks. I think for a while there, he definitely was one of those guys that would wear his stuff out quick, and then he would drop an anchor when it comes to long runs. But, man, he just flat wore the field out. I love his tweet with Bloomquist saying, if they didn't put me to the back, we would have lapped the field. That's just awesome. I hated it from my standpoint because, I was one of the guys taking that beating by him all race long. But, this is sometimes you have a blowout, and we had a blowout this week. And so we just got to suck it up. We got to talk about the positives, and that was that crowd was amazing. Even the crowd that came out just to watch us do 10-second pit stops for qualifying was amazing. And so hats off to the team. One thing I will say, though, is that my friends were a little disappointed there was no beer in the infield. So they said that they just kept walking circles on top.
Can you get trapped in the infield once the race
They got
starts?
trapped.
Yeah.
Let's try, when we do the repave, let's dig a tunnel.
Or a bridge.
What's
easier, bridge or a tunnel?
I don't know. But certainly it'll be a cost decision on that one for sure. But yeah, it was cool. I mean, I felt like I was at a local short track. So hats off to the fans. Saw an awesome brawl in the front stretch, evidently.
Yeah.
I saw that online. Not that I encourage fighting, but hey, sometimes it happens. What else? I mean, 2311 had a great race, finished second and third.
Yes.
They were strong.
Yep, they did.
They beat up
Bubba was best of the rest, he said.
Yeah. I don't know that I love his whole Lubers comment after the race, but that story here nor there. But I think that, JGR, I guess a letdown for us. All of our cars kind of finished 9th to 13th. Definitely not what we anticipated after practice. Again, that just tells me that it's not just us that missed the boat when it came to adjustments for those conditions. We all just missed it.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting to see in the truck race, Ross Chastain just pull over for Larson when he got to him. Mm-hmm. And then in the heat race, he just dropped to the rear. So I think he really took that be less aggressive to heart, or it's some type of him trying to say, hey, this is what happens when I'm not aggressive.
Yes and no, because I mean, what if you had a train of cars behind you and you got someone beating off your back bumper and you're worried about them passing you? You knew you were going to get passed by that entire train of cars. So it was, again, that's why we got to have a repave, because we need to have a second lane of some sort to help with that. I think that he did it not necessarily because of Larson, but because he's racing the racetrack.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. So what's next for North Wilkesboro? Do we have a points race here next year? All-star race again? A very cold clash in February?
You know, I'll give props to our producer Travis on that. He's like, well, why don't we just run the clash here? And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's such a great idea. That way, because the travel to the Coliseum is it's a financial nightmare for the race teams.
Travel to the Coliseum for the first race of the year, or travel to the Coliseum in general?
For the first race of the year.
Okay.
It's such a tough thing for us. Well, the clash in general just doesn't make financial sense for the race teams. That's just a fact. It didn't make sense before, but then now that we have to go to the West Coast, it definitely doesn't make sense. And then not only that, on the financial side, personnel side, it really hurts our race teams. For 2 weeks, it is a tough travel back and forth, and then you got to go to Daytona. It's just really a strain on our guys, to be honest with you. So he's like, well, just run the clash at North Wilkesboro. And I'm like, oh, that's a fantastic idea. And then you forget that it's February 2nd or whatever. And it's like, oh, hey, traffic's going to be 35 degrees. So bundle up if we're going to do that. But I don't think you can do it because of weather. It would be too cold. But that being said, that spurs the imagination of, well, there's a lot of really great short tracks in the Southeast that in the Georgia, Florida area that we could run the clash at and not be such a crazy pull for us. Now, again, is it a market like LA? Probably not. But again, every year you keep doing it, it is going to lose its luster a little bit, which we did. We saw, a definite jump from year 1 to 2. My guess is year 2 to 3, naturally, you're just going to have a little less excitement around it for sure. So I'm in favor of moving things around. One thing I don't want to see, and I heard these rumblings, do not put dirt on that racetrack, or not, don't dig up that pavement and then say, all right, well, we're going to run dirt for a year.
I thought they already did that.
As an in-between. What do you mean?
I thought I guess not, because there wouldn't have been pavement there. Yeah. The initial plan was to do this race and then tear up the surface, right, and run dirt.
No, don't even get that.
No,
let's not get that started.
No, it's already been started. That was the initial
I know.
plan.
What I'm saying is that we need to cut the legs off of this story right away. No. North Wilkesboro is a dirt race? No. The answer is no. Simply put, no. Don't do it. You're making a mistake by doing that. I'm telling you, it will lose its short track. I mean, gosh dang it. Just repave the thing. Let's fix the surface a little bit. Work on the tires. We can make that like one of the best short tracks that we have.